these efforts have not shown any comprehensive resolutions. Yet, even though so many parties have pursued and been involved in various strategies and solutions, the Korean Peninsula is a strategic area here in the Asian region. However, the region continuously facing security and political problems, mostly due to the North Korean nuclear issues, which brings about concerns to the surrounding countries. Political tensions also often occurs in the Korean Peninsula region due to the military maneuvers and exercise from the north and the south that are in reality very much against each other. These tensions in the Korean Peninsula has raised international concerns as it has great implications for the regional stability. The unstable security situations on the Korean Peninsula in recent decades has the potential to lead to an open armed conflict if peaceful efforts are not made to resolve the current situations. Parliament, as a part of the international community and a multi-track diplomacy effort, must be able to take a role in supporting peace efforts in the region through parliamentary diplomacy. The security issue on the Korean Peninsula needs to be continuously pursued in order to achieve peace and reunification between the North and South Korea. The current ongoing security situation on the Korean Peninsula has not been fully conducive as a result of the absence of peace agreement between the North and the South. In this perspective, Indonesia, which currently held the presidency of the G20s, will further exercise the mandate of our 1945 Constitution to actively participate in creation and the preserving the world peace, particularly here in the peaceful situation on the Korean Peninsula region. The international community, includes Indonesia, needs to continue to strive and give more efforts to prevent or worsen challenges in the security tensions and to create peace on the Korean Peninsula. Indonesia as a country, as the largest Islamic country, could further encourage various cooperation forums in the region to discuss more about the Korean Peninsula issue, especially through the interparliamentary cooperation forums which our parliaments are present. Hopefully, the voices of more countries in the world will be able to urge the warring parties to resume dialogue and avoid options that could lead to an open armed conflict. And also strengthening cooperations between big countries such as the United States, Japan, and here in South Korea, including ASEAN nations, can be seen as a one concrete and realistic approach for the warring parties with the same goal, which is toward denuclearizations and reunifications of the Korean Peninsula. The response given by the North Korea is rather similar to its response in the past. North Korea needs to maintain the survival of the country, and they must seek a unification process that will not harm both countries' interests.
To recognise Dr. Thomas Walsh, Chairman of UPF, and thank you, Dr. Walsh, for all that you do in ensuring that the vision of Dr. Moon and the Mother of Peace come to fruition. And of course, the Honourable Ignace Dekau, for your leadership, sir, in the Asia-Pacific region. My fellow speakers, and then all the very important people here, the VIPs. And you're all VIPs. That's why you got an invitation. And that's why you're here. Mr. Chairman, we are a delegation from Oceania. And we would like to address the importance of peace and security in our region. Peace in the Pacific Rim dictates the restoration of humanity and world peace. The Korean Peninsula is the cornerstone of its success. We have a voice and a contribution to make in the formation of an Asia-Pacific Union, where contemporary challenges to peace and global order are threats from poverty, climate change, and family breakdown. Threats from conflict between states, threats from violence and massive human rights abuses, and threats from terrorism. In my 27 years as a member of the Parliament of New Zealand and my 9 years as a member in local government, I found in times of crisis, conscience and catastrophe, the family was always there. In family life, love is the oil that eases friction, the cement that binds closer together, and the music that brings harmony. Dr. Anne Higgins. In fact, Dr. Higgins, when I heard you up here dancing, it reminded me of King David of the Old Testament, where he danced naked to the Lord. His wife wasn't very happy. Faith sustained me, prayer ignited me, and love lifted me to stay strong, steadfast, and willing. Kia kaha, kia maia, kia mana wanui. We have an independent foreign policy, and our concern with the recent geopolitical influence in the Asia-Pacific region is that when the elephants fight, the ants may be crushed. The weak get hurt in conflicts between the powerful. To escape poverty and build futures for our children, families and communities who lack opportunities, we need peace, we need security and sustainable development. We need positive dialogue. I've heard recently that we should send an SOS around the world, endorsed by a call for a global consciousness of responsibility, peace, and goodwill. While some have warned of the vulnerability and fragility of
global context, and that global context is challenging, dangerous. We are living, I will not say the global order, but global disorder. And so, when we see this decoupling, we have to ask ourselves, what can be the contribution of Africa? In the past, during the Cold War, we saw the attempts of most important powers then to try to have some clients among the African states. So Africa was more reactive than proactive. The question now is to know if Africa will be able to come with its own solutions, first of all, to achieve its unity, and instead of being in the receiving end of this global order or global disorder, to be able to contribute also to the proposals for a more just world. I think the current situation creates more incentives and conditions for these developments. Because in this fragmented world, we are seeing that globalization is becoming increasingly regionalization. Regionalization is the new name of globalization. So for instance, while Europe is making some steps for more integration, and other parts of the world as well, it seems that it's now the time for Africa to assume its unity and also come and give those contributions. Because the reality is that in spite of those very deep political differences we are seeing today in the world, we still need it open at least to solve some global problems, like for instance climate change, or food security, or the issue of public health. We need this work for the common good. And Africa can also give a contribution if it stands united and active to avoid the self-fulfilling prophecy of the clash of civilizations. So we need Africa for a global order, or at least to avoid such a global disorder. Let me conclude with a warm word of appreciation to UPF and its founders. especially now that EPF is commemorating the 10-year anniversary of the passing of its co-founder, Reverend Dr. Moon. I believe it's appropriate to say how grateful we should be to EPF for its remarkable contribution to global dialogue, especially to dialogue for the reunification of Korea, such an important issue for global peace. I believe the Seoul Declaration signed last February in Korea in the World Summit was and remains a very important contribution for this goal. I thank you all for your kind attention.
고맙습니다. 바로소 위원장께서 말씀을 해주셨습니다. 이어서 유럽 전 현직 정상들께서 연설해 주시겠습니다. 로마노 프로디 제10대 유럽연합 집행위원장, 도미닉 드 빌팽 제167대 프랑스 총리, 호세 마리아 아스나르 전 스페인 수상, 그리고 알빈 쿠르티 코소보 수상, 마지막으로 일리르 메타 제8대 알바니아 대통령입니다. 여러분 박수로 청해 듣겠습니다.
Happy to be with you in the summit of Universal Peace Federation. I want to start my conversation with you giving a deep thank to the founder of UPF, Dr. Hakya Han Moon. I've been president of the European Commission, and the effort to unify Europe is not ended. You know, we are half of our way. But the effort to unify Europe was not easy. You are one country with one language, with one common history. We are now 27 countries with 22 languages. And you know, every day there is some sort of differentiation, of a split. But when you have a continuous dialogue, you understand that time is working in your favor. You know, cooperation is like an infection, like COVID-19 that is spreading around, and if we cooperate, we are spreading virtue around.
Excellencies and dear friends, our world is facing huge uncertainties and tensions because we are going through a massive transition, aggravated by the impact of the world pandemic. We face a geopolitical transition with the shift of global power from the West to the East, as shown by the historical rise of China. Never before has the risk of war been higher than today. We should not forget the threat of nuclear proliferation becoming the major danger to international stability, as shown by the Iranian and North Korean crisis. Following many estimates, North Korea could have in between 20 and 45 warheads, or even more. We are in a defining moment. In order to have a fruitful dialogue, the strategy should be based on political, cultural, and social interactions responding to the aspirations of both people and regimes. First, peace depends on the willingness for change. Second, peace depends on the willingness for cultural dialogue. Peace building makes it crucial to foster mutual understanding. That's why art, education, universities, foundations, churches, NGOs are necessary in facilitating cross-border exchanges. Third, peace also depends on the willingness for economic cooperation. In this regard, companies, banks, and entrepreneurs have a major role to play in ensuring prosperity and development. with determination, pragmatism, and of course, imagination, we might be able to take the lessons of the past and face the challenges of today's world, setting an example for the new generations. We have an opportunity today. We should seize it.
Good afternoon. In this context of increasing geopolitical tensions in international relations, the work of an institution such as Universal Peace Federation and its efforts to build peace and dialogue among nations, especially to contribute to a dialogue on peace on the Korean Peninsula, is more necessary than ever. We all agree that peace of the Korean Peninsula is of a great importance. We know that the situation on the Korean Peninsula is made complicated by geopolitical competition among superpowers, not only during the 20th century's Cold War, but even today. We must work toward building trust, mutual respect, reconciliation, and cooperation. My personal experience as a former Prime Minister of Spain has taught me that all instruments we can use to achieve dialogue and peace must be used. Peace can be pursued not only through traditional track one diplomacy, but also through a wide range of back channels approaches to peace that may involve civil society, trade and commerce, humanitarian relief, interfaith, dialogue, cultural exchange, tourism, and so on. Cooperation between civil societies is one of the keys to gaining popular support for future negotiations. And I wish everyone the best of luck and fruitful work. Thank you for your attention. All the best and goodbye.
Very honored dignitaries, spiritual leaders, parliamentarians and government representatives. Although divided, Koreans have known peace for nearly 70 years. Yet, peace is not merely the absence of war or of visible conflict, but the presence of true justice. A just peace with human and civil rights, with freedom of media and freedom of speech, and with an independent judiciary, but also with economic rights and a welfare state that works for everyone, regardless of nationality, religion, or gender. Despite the cruelty and suffering in the world, what remains true throughout history is that the longing for freedom stirs in every human heart. We must seek lasting peace in the Korean Peninsula, but also in the Balkan Peninsula. Reverend Moon teaches us that peace flourishes
to guarantee equality between the nations and create mutual respect regardless of their strength and size. Peace always remains fragile and threatened. Therefore, it never should be taken for granted, but serious work and efforts must be made to protect it. Where there is democracy, there is peace. Nations of the world need democratic government and not regimes, and each country must begin by promoting peace, democracy, and respect for human rights at home. Furthermore, education and youth are the foundation